So now we're going to look in the actual Smart Notebook software because we've already looked at how you can use your smartboard with just any website, any program that you already have installed on your computer because it's nothing more than a giant mouse pad. And we've explored how you can use the Smart Ink and even the Microsoft Ink. But there's a lot of power in the actual software. So to get to the software, you're going to navigate to your desktop, and there should be an icon that looks like a little blue square with a white notebook on it. Double click on that, and it will open the Smart Notebook software. You should notice that we are running Notebook 17. This is the most recent version of the software. So when you open the software, regardless of whether it's the first time or the 20th time, you're going to get a little startup screen that will let you open any recent notebooks, or you can click on examples to view some examples of smart notebooks that people have already created. There's also some other information here that people might be interested in about the basics. So I'm going to just go ahead and close that. And now I have a blank screen. So you see right here, I still have those web tools available to me if I want to. I'm going to hide them off to the side because I don't really need them within the software. Some basics that you need to know: across the top is your toolbar. And this is a conceptual toolbar, which means when I click on a tool, it will expand out and I'll have more options to explore associated with that tool. And when I select off of it, it closes back. You also have at the very top, you have what you're used to in any other program, your file, your edit, and you can always explore those menus for different options. You have a little setting bar right here. This lets you customize that toolbar. So if there's a tool that you never use, you can remove it or you can add it. Some things that you can add that you might want under the add-ons and then under the tools. So this first section is your actions, this is your add-ons, and these are your tools. So you can kind of customize those toolbars if you want to. And then you have this little arrow that goes up and down. If you click on that, it will move those options down to the bottom of the screen. So depending on where your board is positioned in your room, it might be easier to navigate from the bottom if you're vertically challenged like myself. If you want it back at the top, you just click that right there. And then over on the side, you kind of have your page sorter view. Think of this very similar to PowerPoint or slides. You can see your different pages here. And then you have a gallery tab on the side. This is kind of where you can go get clip art, but you can pull in images and clip art from any other source as well. The little paperclip tab is your attachments. So you could actually attach handouts and files. You can insert web links and things like that. So everything you need in a lesson could be housed right here. This little tab kind of works on the background if you want a solid fill. So if I want solid filled, I can click purple and then it makes my screen purple. I can do pattern fill if I want to. That might be a little obnoxious, but I'm not going to. And then the little puzzle piece tab are your add-ons. And so I'm not going to focus too much on these because we don't use these as much. There's a newer component in the Smart Notebook software, but this used to be where I would go to do a lot. You can search for images right within Smart Notebook. You can integrate YouTube into your Smart Notebook. Activity Builder lets you create some sorting activities with interactivity, and Lesson Recorder is nice. It is also available without opening the software, you can go to the little icon and you have the recorder, which basically lets you record your desktop and do a screencast similar to what I'm doing now. Smart Blocks is a math concept where you can incorporate addition symbols and connect the dots, and it does some fancy automated stuff. If you're a math person, you might want to explore that one along with GeoGebra. It's another math component that many of our math teachers are already familiar with, and it is housed within Smart Notebook on that puzzle piece tab. So Your tools across the top are pretty basic. That's the next page. If I click it, it will automatically add another page until I add content. Undo, redo, new page, delete page. Open a file is a little file folder, saving. The screen shade, I showed that to you earlier. So if you have content that you want to reveal slowly to students, you can use the screen shade. It's a nice little feature. The X obviously is delete, but there's nothing on there to delete. You can insert a table, and then you have measurement tools as well. The next little tool right here, view screens, this is basically how you present. So you have full screen, which is your presentation view. And I can go back down here and go back to the regular view. I can do a transparent background, which hides the Smart Notebook software. It's still there, but now I could write on the board and you see my desktop and things like that. And then I can do a dual page, which shows two pages side by side, depending on what you're trying to do. And then I can go back to the single display, and then I have all my versions. The zoom, I usually select entire page. That way, if anything has scrolled down to the bottom of the page, I can see it. So those are your basic toolbars. And I'm going to come back to these two right here. Now, this add-on button, unlike this add-on button, lets you do some alignment and some equations and then your GeoGebra. So I don't know why they use the add-ons too, but you can also do a concept map right within your Smartboard software. So click on that, and basically I hit the plus sign. I can draw the lines. I can move it over, hit another plus sign, and move it over. And so I can build that concept tree, which is a nice feature. So when I'm done with that, now I have my tools. And so I have my selector tool. Anytime I want to touch and move things, I want to have the arrow selected. The pens, there's lots of different pens. There's the regular pen. There's the calligraphy pen, the crayon, the highlighter, the text pen, the creative pen, paintbrush, magic pen, and shape recognition. So I'm going to just kind of show you. I'm going to click over here and do a new page. And so I apologize if it's hard to hear. I'm going to actually move to the board with the pen. The regular pen, I can select the color and I can write on the board like normal. If I switch my pen and I go to the calligraphy pen, basically what it does is it kind of straightens up your lines. It's not going to make it perfectly readable and neat, but it does make it a little neater. I'm going to switch colors to a finer line. The crayon is just what you think it would be. It writes like it's a crayon. It also colors like it's a crayon. So, and the harder you write, it will color in. Then you have your highlighter, which is exactly what you think it would do. It highlights the text. The text pen is kind of cool because it will actually convert what you write into text. And then I can say yes. And so if you want typewritten notes, you could use that text pen and it will type it, and you won't have to take the time of using the keyboard. So that's the text pen. The creative pen is just a fun, I can pick a pattern and it just makes a fun little squiggle on the screen. Then the paintbrush is just what you think it would be, is paint strokes, kind of has that paint look. So if you're really artistic, you can do a lot between the crayon, creative pen. The magic pen is one of my favorites because it does three magical things. I can draw a circle with the magic pen, and it's going to spotlight where I circled, and it kind of grays out the rest of the screen. I can draw a box around what I want to zoom in on. Or the last thing I can do is I can actually write, and after about 3 or 4 or 5 seconds, it will start to disappear automatically. So that's the Magic Pen. It is one of my favorites. And then the shape recognition pen allows me to draw shapes and then it straightens it up for me. So if I don't get that circle just right, it will straighten those lines for me. So now the one thing to remember when you're using the pens, ink is the only thing that erases. So notice when I converted to text and the shapes, they are no longer ink, so they don't erase when I use the eraser tool. So that's one thing to note. You have your text tool where you can actually type, and you get a text box when you click on the board, so you can type on the board. And then once you click off of this, it becomes an object that I can, if I hit the selection tool, I can now select this object and move it anywhere on the board. I can also move that ink anywhere on the board. So, and then you have is your shape tool. You can actually draw a polygon. You have your lines tool. You can draw different types of lines, and then you have the paint bucket. And finally, which would fill anything. So if I want to fill those shapes, I can select a color. And then finally, I have the eraser tool that will allow me to erase only ink. So those are your basic tools. And that's all you need to know to start writing on your smartboard.